when I got here to Dubai with the desert all around me, I thought that this was a very apt little piece of poetry. For me, it represents many things, but first and foremost, it represents how I feel about art and what it's like to be an artist for a long, long time and sort of hang in there, so to speak, and what it's like to go through life. So the piece of poetry goes like this. And remember, this is Oscar Wilde, and I hope I'm quoting properly, from prison. For my own part, the only thing I could do was to love you. I knew that if I allowed myself to hate you, that in the dry, dark, dry desert of existence, every rock would lose its shadow, every palm tree be withered, and every well of water prove poisoned at its source. So to be an artist and to get up every day and do it again and again and again and is a wonderful thing. You make your own life. You are basically charting your own course. And it's an extraordinary sort of adventure. You have to make it up as you go along, and you have to sort of also remake yourself from time to time, and you have to take risks as well. Now, when we started out at 112 Greene Street, the context was in America that New York was pretty much down on its heels. It was in debt, couldn't pay its bills. So in certain ways, the old days were kind of like a war zone in New York. There were, you could get mugged pretty easily. And there were whole areas that you didn't venture in, especially if you were a woman, during the day, let alone at night. But what was also wonderful about it is that you could really do pretty much anything you wanted. There was there was so much going on that nobody was going to pay attention to some kind of guerrilla act. And so we took advantage of that. We were all young kids who came from everywhere in the States. Most of us weren't born in New York. And Soho was not Soho. It was a kind of broken down old warehouse district that people really wanted to bulldoze. And artists started living there illegally because they could get big space, and it was very cheap, and basically nobody would bother them. And the context was the Vietnam War, civil rights movement, hippies, the environmental movement, all the things that we now kind of take for granted were just beginning then. The women's movement, gay rights movement, all of that was just in its sort of beginnings. We came there, most of us had a master's or a BA, we'd come out of college. We were kind of arrogant. There was no market at all. There were some good dealers like Leo Castelli and Paula Cooper and a few others, but basically there wasn't really, we didn't think that we were going to be able to show our work, and we certainly didn't think we were going to get paid for it. But we were kind of arrogant, and we thought we knew it all. I think we thought that we could take this multidisciplinary approach. So we knew a little bit about science, we knew a little about history, we knew a little bit about philosophy, and we knew a little bit about art. And our predecessors were Don Judd and Sol LeWitt, Carl Andre, Bob Morris, whom I studied with, Tony Smith. And my immediate predecessors were Vito and Dennis and Bruce Nauman, and maybe Chris Burton, although he was sort of in my generation. And this group of young kids rented a space. They lived in a building at 112 Greene Street, and they managed to convince the owner that he should allow us to do exhibitions down there. So we had the ground space and the basement, and it was a very raw space. We could basically do anything we wanted, and I think what was so wonderful about it is the galleries that were there, that were available, were so pristine and so nice that we felt that we couldn't mess up, and we really wanted to mess up. We really wanted to invade the space and and really kind of cut it up. And we could do that at 112. Gordon Matta Clark was one of the originators of 112, and he was sort of like this little ball of energy, and he would just go around sort of making things happen. Gordon was a very generous person, and he would sort of pull people in. And the other context I would like to say was minimal art was at its high point. Minimal art was, at that point, at least from a theoretical point of view, very successful, if not a financial point of view. And we were kind of wanting to undermine that. There was something about the immutability of it and the sort of hard line that people were so theoretically dug in. And we didn't want that. We wanted something else. And I think a lot of us wanted to bring the world in.